Hi everybody, Mike from RMT Family. In this video, we're taking the Chevy Bolt on a road trip from western Montana to eastern Montana. We're going from home to a small town called Wolf Creek and visit some friends there, and then we'll drive down to Helena from there. From here to Wolf Creek, Google says it's about 163 miles. The Chevy Bolt predicts 175 miles range at 100% charge. There is no charging on the way whatsoever. We may be able to round up a regular 15 amp household outlet if we're really extremely desperate, but I hope we can make it. We'll see. Let's go. It is 9:45 a.m., 20 degrees out, and the car is fully charged. As you can see here, it shows 100%. We added 38.73 kilowatts in this charging session. So let's look and see what the stats show here on the tablet. This shows a little warmer as always, shows 23, but it's only 20 out. Battery average temperature is 44.6, so that charging session brought the temperature up quite a bit. Usually that is about 10 degrees lower. What else we got? The battery coolant pump seems to be running all the time, and we got 100% charge right there. And let's see what it says on the dash here. Let's fire that up. And it predicts 174 miles. That's what it said yesterday when I set it to 100%. I think it said 174, 175 maybe even. So we got 163 miles to go. The car currently is still cold. So I'm gonna preheat it, and then in about 10 or 15 minutes we'll be leaving. All right, we're ready to go. 172 miles on there with the heat off right now. Cabin heat shows 0. Let's turn it on auto. There it goes, suck and choose. So it's using 5,000 watts, and our range dropped to 158. We gotta go 163, so we'll see if we can make it. So this trip will be a little challenge for the car and for us, because as you've seen, the range actually, once we turned the heater on, dropped below what the actual mileage will be to make it there. One of the big things is it is winter time. It's constantly below freezing. We have a lot of snow-covered roads, which takes a toll on the range of an electric car. So on this trip, we got to figure out how we can stretch that so that we can make it safely. Obviously, we want to have a little cushion in case something happens and we would have to sit somewhere on the highway and just leave the heat on and wait. But we have a lot of challenges, not just the cold, also elevation. We start at about 3,200 feet. We'll climb up to about 4,400 feet, and that's kind of where the majority of the drive will be, through the mountains. And that said, through the mountains means lots of climbs, lots of uphill, downhills, and you never gain back on a downhill what you used on an uphill. Eventually we'll have to climb Rogers Pass, which is the Continental Divide, which is 5,610 feet. and then we'll drop back down to about 4,400, and shortly after that we'll drop down to about 3,400 where Wolf Creek is. Then in Wolf Creek we'll have to climb again about another 300 feet up to our friend's house. So that will take quite a toll on range. We're trying to keep the speeds relatively low. If we would go the speed limits, which will be on I-90 first, the speed limit is 80 miles per hour. We certainly can't do that, or we would lose way too much range. Then on Highway 200, the speed limit will be 70 or 75. So this entire drive will be in a rural setting. We go through a handful of towns, but very small towns. There is no charging opportunities. There is no level 2 chargers or DC fast chargers anywhere near. We may be able to round up a regular household outlet and somebody would let us charge there, but as you know, that would take hours and hours to gain some miles. So we just have to see if we can make it, mainly by lowering our speed. Another thing that is working against us is the additional weight in the car. So there's the two of us in there with a few items for one overnight stay. And I also had to bring a bunch of tools because I'll be looking at my friend's car when we get there. So I had to bring a pretty heavy floor jack stands, a small toolbox. And also I brought a couple extension cords. One of them is a 50 amp extension cord. I made a couple adapters yesterday so that we can plug in at my friend's house into his dryer outlet. He's got a dryer outlet and he sent me a picture of it, so I was able to make an adapter for that, and I brought the extension cord so that we can extend that out to the car and hopefully use the EVSE that I have with me as well. I got two of them, the one that came with the Chevy Bolt, as well as a 32 amp, a level 2 EVSE that plugs into a 50 amp outlet, a NEMA 1450. So we have this weight as an additional thing to carry with us, which will lower range even more. But the plan is that once we get to our friend, we'll hopefully can plug into this dryer outlet, which I believe has a 30 amp breaker. We're pulling 32 amps, so I don't know if that's gonna work out or if the breaker will trip after about 10-15 minutes. And that may be happening. So the other thing I've done, the second adapter I made is from the dryer outlet to a regular 15 amp household type outlet, so I could plug in the EVSE that came with the Bolt, but I would feed it 240 volts instead of the 120 volts and thus get double the power in the same amount of time. And had to bring an extension cord for that. That's heavy enough to carry that load for the few hours that we're going to be there. We're going to be there about 5 hours or so and hopefully get enough range back so we can make it to Helena, where we will spend the night at a hotel that does not have any level 2 chargers. There's actually only about 3 level 2 chargers in town. There's a Tesla supercharger that does not help us at all. There is no DC fast charging in Helena. So we will have to get by with level 1 overnight at the hotel and make up wherever we can, grab a level 2 charger. Like during dinner, we're planning on going to a place that has a level 2 charger so we can get an hour or two charging in there, and we'll just have to make up the rest the next day so that we can make it home again. We'll go back home a different route than going there to make this a little bit more interesting. It's actually the shorter route. Once you're in Helena, it is shorter to take another route, but going to Wolf Creek, this here, the one we're taking right now, is shorter to Wolf Creek rather than going through Helena. So there's a few challenges ahead of us here today and tomorrow, and we just got to make sure we probably keep the speed low enough to get enough range to make all this without charging. I hope you enjoy the scenery. As I'm talking here, you get to see a little bit of big sky up there. It is beautiful weather right now. It will change later, I'm sure. There's supposed to be some snowfall coming about midday, so we'll probably get into some cloudy weather, some snowfall. We'll see. But this morning it's definitely beautiful out and makes it for a real nice drive. Okay, we're 68.5 miles into the drive. We used 24.3 kilowatt hours. Most of it was used for driving, a little bit for heating. And we still got 107 miles average there. And actually just here on the last couple miles, our line went up here towards the max, so we've been doing pretty good. We're not going full speed. There is 70 miles per hour speed limit on the highway. We're going 60 just to conserve some energy, making sure we can get there. We've done most of the climb up. We're at about 4,000 feet. We gotta go about another 400 or so up, and then we'll stay up there for a while and then drop back down. Well, let's keep going. we are approaching Rogers Pass, and unfortunately the camera was off as we went over the top of the pass. How else would it go, right? So, but we had to take a break shortly after getting over the top on the downhill side. My passenger needed a smoke break, so we stopped in a turnout on the downhill side of the pass, and as you can see here, I mean, the weather was perfect and we had great views everywhere. And so, yeah, well, at the stop, I give you the stats real quick so you can see where we're at in regards to the car. So we just made it over the pass. We're 128.8 miles into it, used 44.8 kilowatt hours. We're doing pretty good. Most of it is going to driving, little to heating. As you can see here, right above the 50 there, that green, we're doing pretty good. We're getting more than the average miles there. So we still got a few miles to go, but we should be able to make that real easy. That said, I've been cheating a little bit. The speed limit on the interstate is 75. I'm sorry, on the interstate is 80. We were going 65. The speed limit on the highways is 70. We're going between 55 and 60 only. So that gains a lot of range. So that's the only way we can make it. If we would have went the speed limits, there was no way for us to make it going the speed limit. We would be stuck. And there's no charging out here. We're in the middle of nowhere. It's a beautiful sight, but there's not much here. I mean, in a super emergency, there possibly would be a possibility to find an outlet, but yeah, there's really no charging here. So we're taking a short break right here, and then we got another about 36 miles to go to Wolf Creek, so we should be able to make that and get there with a few miles to spare. Let's look at the torque gap real quick. So battery temperature is 46.4, ambient air is 23. Funny thing is, here it shows 20, here it shows 23. It is relatively cold here. Battery coolant is 42.8, and the cabin heat current is using 1600. It's been going anywhere from 1000 to 3000 mostly, and battery coolant pump is still going as well, and battery state of charge 28.6. so we have a little bit to go, but we should be able to make that, and we'll get going here in a couple minutes again. So we are now in eastern Montana. We crossed the Continental Divide, and the scenery in eastern Montana is quite different from western Montana. Western Montana, you're in the mountains, and in eastern Montana it starts getting flat, and you can see that already here. We just have a relatively short drive to go, a little over 30 miles. There will be a turnoff soon here off Highway 12. We need to take another smaller highway to cut off down to Wolf Creek. But as you can see, a lot flatter here in eastern Montana. Also quite a bit colder usually. Over here they had temperatures of 40 below just a couple days before, so you can see the roads are still kind of snow ice covered there. There's a lot of wind here too. Obviously that will also affect the range a little bit, but it's a very short drive to where we have to go today. This video is getting quite a bit long here, since I'm showing lots of Montana. If you don't like to see all that, by the way, I got timestamps in the description, so you can just go down there and click on a timestamp and it will take you right to the next chapter, or to whichever chapter you would like to go. So you can either watch the whole thing, or you can watch just the stats, or you can just watch the scenery, whatever you prefer to do. In any event, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, hit the notification bell so you get a notification every time we put a new video out. We got so many different videos about different stuff. There's something for everybody. You may not be interested in all of them, but anyway, subscribe and hit the notification bell. So anyway, we'll keep driving here a little bit further, making it to Wolf Creek. We'll get the car plugged in, and then I think we will be ending the video there for today. Here is our turnoff, and this is a little smaller highway cutting across from Highway 200 down to Interstate 15, and that is where Wolf Creek is. So I'll give you a little more music till we get there, and then we'll look at the whole situation of plugging the car in and see how that goes, and then we'll end the video for today, and I'll have a second part with more of this trip. we made it. We're in Wolf Creek, 164.2 miles. So the 163 that Google estimated was pretty much right on. I didn't give the specific address to Google, so we have about a good three and a half hours driving time. Temperature here now is 30. That's the highest we've ever seen. It's been between 20 and 30 the whole time. We do have 29 miles left on average, and we had 3.1 miles per kilowatt hour according to this. So we haven't done too bad. Let's see here. Cabin heat still going, about 1200 watts. Battery temperature 48.2. Battery coolant 46. So it's kind of amazing that the battery doesn't come up much higher in temperature, which is actually a good thing, because that means it has low internal resistance, so that makes it a very efficient battery. So yeah, we used 54.5 kilowatts, so we got a little bit left, but couldn't have gone too much further. I've been babying it all the way. 65 was the max on the interstate, 55 to 60 the rest of the way. We climbed up to about 4,400 feet, stayed at 4,400 until we had to go over the pass. The pass is 5,610, I believe, and then went back down, and now we're around 3,500 feet again here. So going slow speed, it's possible to make this on the conditions like that. In the cold, we had heavy winds at times too. The road conditions were anything from dry to wet to snow to ice, and sometimes all of it at once, it seemed like. So it's almost one of the more extreme drives that we've done with, especially with this car here. The weather conditions and road conditions are certainly not helping the situation here at all. In the summertime, we could do much better. It could be still a bit worse. You could, in the worst extreme, you could lose 50% of your EPA range in the wintertime. So that said, this is 259 miles range EPA, so we will come down to about 125, 130 miles range max. And if we would have had a snowfall for this drive, we definitely would have lost many more miles. Not sure if we even could have made it. But we're here. Now we gotta go figure out the charging situation. We got a dryer outlet. I don't know if it's protected by a 30 or a 40 amp breaker. We'll find out. The charger I brought from home is a 32 amp. So it actually might run for quite a while on the 30 amp breaker. We'll see, we'll find out. If not, I made also an adapter so I can plug in the charger or the EVSE that came with the car, so that we can run it on 240 volts instead of on 120 volts. And so that way we at least can double the miles in the same amount of time compared to just going with the regular level 1 of 120 volts. So we'll go figure that out, plug the car in, and I'll let you know. Okay, got the charger plugged in. Extension cord runs through there, through the bathroom window into where the dryer is. Let's see, plug it in. Got 242 volts, it's ramping up. We'll see how long it goes until it trips the breaker. Ooh, 32.6, wow. So we'll see how long it goes, if we can charge on this or if we need to bring the other setup out. So we've been inside sitting at the table snacking and chatting and totally forgot about the charger. It's been about half an hour, maybe 45 minutes, and here we go. It's still going, so it did not trip the breaker. So that is really cool, because this way we can get a lot of miles into this car pretty quick while we're here. Then we can drive to Helena, and we'll have dinner at a place that will have a level 2 charger, so we can get a little more. And then maybe at the hotel I can find a regular household outlet to plug in and get it full overnight, but we'll see. But for now, we're doing good. That said, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Subscription is free, no spam mail either. Thank you for watching. We'll see you a little later. Thank you, S&S, for the great food and the great time. We really enjoyed being at your place. So if you want to see how this story continues, please join us in part 2. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.